The Nintendo Switch 2 is set to come out June 5th, 2025, but there are a lot of clamoring online about the prices being too expensive, having the base console costing $449.99 and the bundled edition with Mario Kart World at $500 US. This has stirred up a lot of drama and things might be worse. Earlier this week, Doug Bowser, US Nintendo president, went on to CNBC to set things straight. Now, this comes to us from Genki on X. Nintendo's Doug Bowser on Switch 2 pricing in relations to tariffs.
Now we're sitting here on April 2nd. It just so happens, as we're recording this, the President of the United States right now is announcing his tariffs. You and so many other executives are pulling their hair out, trying to figure out, how do I price my products? How did that come into play as you're deciding how to price the Switch 2 here in the United States?
Yeah, as we price the Switch 2, the price we announced today of $449 for the single SKU, we didn't consider tariffs into that equation. We felt that that was going to be the right price point for our consumers and the right value proposition, if you will, for the device that we're creating. A lot of news today. We're still all trying to really understand it better and understand what possible impacts, may rise from that. But nothing I can really add to, today's discussion around pricing.
So he didn't give a definitive answer, but he did say that he was pricing the Nintendo Switches based off the increases of not just the Nintendo Switch, but the actual materials and the chipsets that are used to make these consoles. Not just Nintendo, but in general. I believe there is a 20% increase. Now let's go ahead and check out this article from Forbes. Analysts predict potential eventual Switch 2 price moves after tariffs. And this was updated, I believe, yesterday. So right over here, apologies for the misunderstanding created on our part by not clarifying the reference to a 20% hardware price increase over the next 2 years applied to the hardware side in general and not just to the Switch. In case of the Switch 2, we believe much of the 20% increase was already baked into the $450 price. It is not likely Nintendo will raise the price, and if they do, we do not expect it to be 20%. Also, much of that increase is in the form of not discounting prices. So not necessarily a price increase, but where we model a 20% price increase in the next year or so, we have prices holding steady. Now, what makes matters worse is this article from Insider Gaming. It says, can't afford a Nintendo Switch 2? Buy a Switch 1, Nintendo says, which is absolutely infuriating, is because most of the games that are going to be coming out are Switch 2 exclusives. I believe there were 40-something games plus that were announced during the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct. And we're not including first-party titles like Mario Kart World or Donkey Kong Bonanza. Let's go actually take a look at the quote. As we look at Nintendo Switch 2 and you think about the feature sets that I talked about, we believe that the pricing is appropriate for the value of the machine and the gameplay experience overall. We recognize there are some people that may not be able to afford the Switch 2's price point. That's why we wanted to make the other Switch platforms available so people still have an opportunity to come into our gaming universe and be a part of these characters in these worlds, see value, if you will, in whatever rung of the platform they come in. Which is wild, is because that means you won't be able to play Mario Kart World, you won't be able to play Donkey Kong Bonanza, or even the From Software title, The Duskbloods. And like clockwork, this did not sit well with Nintendo fans, drawing huge comparisons to Xbox One's launch. This comes to us from Nintendo Life. Some fans are drawing unfavorable comparisons between Switch 2 and Xbox One. So if you don't know what this is, several years back at the launch of the Xbox One, President Don Matrick basically gave a very terrible response for people who cannot afford the Xbox One. Let's scroll down a little bit. This is the quote from Nintendo, but let's check out the quote from Matrick himself. If you don't know what we're talking about, Matrick, who was president of the interactive entertainment business at Microsoft in 2013, was interviewed by Game Trailers prior to Microsoft's E3 2013 showcase. And in response to online connectivity, he told Jeff Keighley, let's zoom in right over here, fortunately, we have a product for people who aren't able to get some form of connectivity. It's called Xbox 360. And holy crap, what an absolute terrible response for this. And this is the comparisons that pissed off a lot of fans, calling it mean and dismissive. But wait, there's more. Here's another article from Insider Gaming. Nintendo Switch 2 pre-orders delayed in Canada at the last minute. This is extremely upsetting for a lot of people because us here in the US, we are already upset that the pre-order for the console has been delayed. As of recording this, April 8th, tomorrow is set to be the pre-order date, and we still don't know when the new pre-order dates for the Nintendo Switch will be dropped. Now let's go ahead and read this. Pre-orders for the Nintendo Switch 2 in Canada will not start on April 9, 2025, in order to align with the timing of pre-orders to be determined in the US. Nintendo will provide updated information at a later date. The launch date of June 5th, 2025 is unchanged. The statement was similar to what was actually given to the US earlier last week. But with tariffs delaying US pre-orders from April 9th and now Canada being pushed back to align with the US dates, we still have no news of a new pre-order date, though the console is still set to be released June 5th, 2025. And Doug told Wired that this is a challenge that they will tackle. Do we see a price hike coming? Your guess is as good as mine. Sound off in the comments down below. Like, share, subscribe to this channel, and we will see you guys next time.